I'm wondering how many of you have figured it out or have an idea that could be possible. I bet there's a lot of you. I like to solve these puzzles too. Oops, helps if I have the book right side up. Mal saw it first. It was almost as if the answer had snuck up from behind and grabbed him. His arms flailed out in different directions as he yelled with astonishment, "Hey! Hey! Hey, what? Wait a second. Wait a second." Mal seized the notebook out of Jake's hand and stared at it with widening eyes. "Ah, see? See? Winston was amused. "Either he has the answer or his brain just exploded," he said. Mal finally calmed down enough to explain what he discovered. The prisoner number was important. The first number was 238. You took the second, third, and eighth letter out of that prisoner's crime, and you got the word hey, H-E-Y. You needed to take the first, fifth, and ninth letters out of the second crime, which gave you the word see, S-E-E. They quickly counted out the rest of the letters they needed. This gave them 6 three-letter words. All right, I want you to pause. We already have hey and see, and I want you to get the rest of the 4 before we go on. All right, I bet you got them. Q, C-U-E, U, E-W-E, mom sheep, I, E-Y-E, and T, T-E-E, like you put a golf ball on. "That's not a coincidence," Winston said. "But it's not an answer either," Mr. Garvey noted. "What are we supposed to type into the computer?" "All 6 words?" Mal suggested. "Yuck," said Winston. But they agreed it was worth a shot, so Winston turned on the computer and navigated his way to the proper place. He typed in the 6 words and was not surprisingly told, "This is not the right answer." "No dice," he said. "We've got it," said Mr. Garvey. "We just don't know it yet. How can we turn these words into the answer we need?" Okay, pause again. Let's see if you can figure it out. 1 word. I hope you got it. Jake got it this time. Winston felt a pang of jealousy. He hadn't contributed a single thing to this puzzle. Well, he solved other things today, and I guess you can't solve them all. It was so obvious Winston felt ashamed for not seeing it immediately. The 6 words all sounded like letters. Hey didn't sound exactly like the letter A, but the other 5 words undoubtedly clued the letters. Okay, think about it. Give it a pause. Yep. C-Q-U-I-T. Put them all together and it spelled acquit. A-C-Q-U-I-T. If you jury acquits somebody, it's saying that they did not find them guilty. All right, so there would not be a consequence for what the trial was about. It had to be the answer, and it was. Winston's fingers were shaking with excitement. He typed it into the proper place and received a congratulations in return. "That was some fast solving, boys," said Mr. Garvey. "That's exactly the break we needed. Come on, we can do this." Back in the parking lot, Mr. Garvey fumbled with his keys as he tried unlocking the car. A couple of cars away stood another team engaged in some sort of high drama. Winston recognized one of them as John Curran, the obnoxious kid who said he was going to kick everybody's butt. So this was the team from Kennedy Junior High. John was yelling, screaming, really, at one of his teammates, a girl who was sitting on the tailgate of her teacher's car, her hands up to cover her face. Winston heard John shout, "How could you do that? How could you be so stupid?" John's teacher had a hand on his shoulder. She was trying to pull him away. The third teammate was just standing there with arms crossed, staring at the ground, a picture of defeat. Winston knew what this was. He looked at the rest of them. They figured it all out. The smart money was that the cheater had pulled another stunt. Mr. Garvey walked over. "What happened? Are you guys okay?" he asked. The teacher looked up. "You're part of the contest, right?" the Kennedy teacher asked. Mr. Garvey nodded. "Well, we're having a little problem here. It seems this young lady lost the computer we were given." "I didn't. I'm sorry. I think someone stole it. I think someone picked my pocket." "Ridiculous," said John Curran. His arms were crossed indignantly. "Who would steal it? How would they steal it? If you think one of the other kids is a professional pickpocket, you've lost it. You ruined the whole contest." "Actually," Mr. Garvey said sadly, "it might not be as ridiculous as you think." And he explained about the cheater and the other things that he'd already done. Beyond that, however, there was nothing they could do to help the Kennedy team. The girl, Nicole, had kept the mini computer in a pocket of her backpack. After they solved the prison puzzle, Nicole reached for the computer so they could submit their answer and discovered that pocket was unzipped and empty. They had all looked around, and then they came back to the car to see if maybe it had dropped there. Nothing. It was gone. And the Kennedy team, which had been fighting for the lead, was ruined. "This cheater stole something while standing in front of a police station," Mr. Garvey said as they pulled out of the parking lot. "This guy just doesn't give up." I'm going to keep reading, starting at chapter 11. It was good to be home. The Glenville Town Green, a quick bicycle ride away from Winston's house, was the site of the fifth puzzle. It was a large expanse of lawn with the town hall on one end and the library at the other. Park benches, rich green grass, a nearby row of small shops attracted people on every sunny day. Today was no exception. Demetrius Simon had trained them by now to expect the unexpected. After the Ferris wheel and that crazy prison, Winston would not have been surprised to see a parade of camels and elephants on the town green. So they were brought up short when they didn't immediately see anything that resembled a puzzle. No grand spectacle. No chaotic and strange element dropped onto the green for passers-by to gawk at. There were a lot of people walking, enjoying the day, and really that was it. Mr. Garvey kept looking around. "Is this the right place, boys? Are you guys sure?" "The computer said the town green in Glenville," said Jake. "Well, this is Glenville," Mal declared, "and this is the town green." "Look," Jake said, "there's the Lincoln team." True. Lincoln Junior High was walking along the green as a group. Where were they going? As Winston watched, they approached a girl wearing a bright yellow t-shirt. They talked with her for a minute, and the girl handed them something. The Lincoln kids looked at it and fell into an intense discussion while the girl wandered away. Said Mr. Garvey. Now that Winston looked around a little more closely, he saw a lot of people on the green wearing brightly colored t-shirts. There were a dozen or more, in a vibrant rainbow of colors. A young man was wearing a loud purple shirt walking in their direction. And as he got closer, Winston saw the words, "Simon's Snack Foods." Aha! The young man, wandering aimlessly, pivoted on one heel and sauntered back in the other direction. On the back of his shirt was a picture. Winston strained his eyes to make it out. It was an egg, he said. "That guy has an egg on the back of his shirt." "You'd think it would be a potato," said Mal. "Why a potato?" Winston asked. He works for the potato chip company. Duh." "Look over there," said Jake, pointing somewhere else. They watched a girl in a green t-shirt walk by. On the back of her shirt was a picture of a pair of shoes. They observed the scene a few more minutes, and then Mr. Garvey said, "All right, guys, believe it or not, we're going to split up." "We are?" Mel said. "Look around. These kids in the shirts are everywhere. If we have to go up to every one, it's going to take forever. Jake, you take this area of the green, and Mal, you go over there. Winston, head in that direction, and I'll go right over here. Approach these people, get whatever they're giving out, and we'll meet back here in 10 minutes. All right?" Go." They went off in all the assigned directions. Winston looked around as he walked and saw more teams. There was one sitting on a bench. There was another running to catch up to a guy in a red shirt. He glanced toward the street just as a car parked. All the doors opened and another team flew out ready for anything. They stopped short when they discovered they didn't know where to go or what to do. Well, they would discover the people in t-shirts soon enough. He wondered where Brendan Root was. How close were they to winning? Winston also wondered if the cheater was around here somewhere. What was the guy planning to do next, and to whom? A cold shudder shook him. Suddenly, being off by himself didn't seem like such a hot idea. Ray Marietta had asked, "He's after you, specifically?" That was the typically blunt way Ray put things, but it was true. The man in the green jacket was after him and a bunch of other kids, too. He was somewhere nearby. Winston was sure of it. He was watching, waiting to make his next move. "Stop it," he told himself. He was frightening himself like a little kid reading ghost stories. Winston was out in the open, in a familiar public place, in full view of about 100 people. There wasn't much the cheater could do here. Still, let's get the job done and rejoin the team, he thought. Up ahead was a girl in a green t-shirt with a picture of a snail on her back. How strange. Winston ran up to her. "Hi, you're giving away something." "Do you have an answer for me?" she said. Winston didn't know what she meant. An answer to what? To my riddle. "If you beat me, I will yell." "What am I?" she said expectantly. "That's a riddle?" Winston asked. "It is. Do you know the answer?" He didn't. The girl saw the blankness on his face and nodded with sympathy and said, "You can come back and tell me the answer whenever you have it. Bye now." And she wandered off. Could the answer be a snail? The picture on the back of her shirt? No, that didn't make much sense. Funny as it might be to imagine hitting a snail and having it yell at you, angrily waving a slimy little antenna. And all at once he had a blast of realization. The right answer was going to be on one of those shirts. He just had to find the right person. And one of those other people had a riddle, the answer to which would be snail. Winston was suddenly whipping his head around, trying to see everywhere at once. The town green never seemed larger, and the college kids in the color shirts were all over the place. He ran to the next closest one and looked at his back. The guy had a picture of a can of paint. This wasn't the answer to this girl's riddle either. The guy noticed Winston and turned to face him. He was frowning and spread his arms out like he was about to sing an opera. "I have a riddle for you," he intoned gravely. "Tell me the answer if you can." This guy was definitely taking his role seriously. Maybe too seriously. "Okay," Winston said. The guy cleared his throat theatrically and said, "I get shorter the longer I stand. What am I?" Winston sighed. He didn't know the answer to this one either. The guy saw that Winston didn't know, so he just shook his head, clucked with pity. "If you cannot answer, I cannot help you. Good day." And he swept himself around as though he was wearing a great royal robe instead of a purple t-shirt. Had it been 10 minutes yet? Winston had only spoken with 2 people. Maybe they shouldn't have split up in the first place. He looked around for Mal and Jake and didn't see either of them. Winston could swear the town green was lengthening before his eyes as if 2 giants grabbed it from either end and were stretching it out. He heard someone call his name and spun. He was glad to see it was Brendan Root, who was practically skipping toward him. He'd have to figure out a way to get in touch with Brendan when this was all over. They would have a lot to talk about if Winston was able to get in a word edgewise. "Winston!" Brendan said again. "You caught up!" "Have you guys finished?" Winston asked, dreading the answer. He was relieved when Brendan only shook his head. "I think we're almost done with the puzzle. I'm looking for a..." And he gave Winston a look like he was a kid that just got caught stealing cookies. "I can't tell you what I'm looking for, can I?" "You probably shouldn't." Brendan rubbed his hands together as if not blurting things out required real and true effort. Are you almost there too? He asked. We just got here a few minutes ago, so it looks like you guys are still pretty far ahead. Brendan couldn't hide his satisfaction. I thought maybe we weren't winning anymore. We got hung up at the police station. We'd lost a lot of time there. Oh? Winston thought of the cheater. Had he struck again? What happened? Brendan said, We spent forever looking at those signs. We didn't think to move closer to examine the prison or the prisoners, so we didn't see the numbers for a long, long time. Man, we were stuck. Mr. Lester was going crazy. Winston nodded. My teacher has had some crazy moments today, too. As if responding to his cue, Winston heard his name bellowed from across the park. Winston saw Mr. Garvey back where they were supposed to meet, waving his hand in the universal gesture, Come on already. I gotta go, he told Brendan. All right, I'll see you back at the potato chip factory. Good luck. He was standing less than 2 feet away, but he waved happily. This was someone having a mighty fine time. Winston arrived back at the park bench. Mr. Garvey was frowning and tapping his foot impatiently. Mal and Jake had already returned. Let's have the report. These people had riddles for you, right? Yeah, said Winston, although nothing I could answer. Me neither, said Mal. I kept waiting for why did the man throw the clock out the window, but it never came up. Me too, said Winston. Well, it's clear what's going on, Mr. Garvey said curtly. His state of agitation was on the rise again. The answer to the riddles are on the back of the shirts. We need to collect all the riddles and write down all those pictures. Then we can sit quietly and match them up. That's the cleanest, most straightforward way of attacking the problem. He got out his memo pad and a pen. Okay, give me the riddles you've heard so far. Winston recited the 2 he heard. Only 2? That's all I had time for. Mr. Garvey grunted and turned to Mal. Go ahead. Mal recited 3 riddles in his most serious tone, and he saw that Mr. Garvey was in no mood for fooling around. Jake, I can only remember 2, and he recited his. Okay, we need them all, Jake. What were the others? Jake looked off in the distance, as if hoping the riddles had been written on the side of the town hall. He tapped his forehead, looking frustrated. Mr. Garvey sighed. Too many knocks in the head playing football, I imagine. Jake was offended. I don't play football, I play baseball. Mr. Garvey rolled his eyes as if the distinction between various sports was so small it wasn't even worth arguing about. Baseball, football, it doesn't matter. He tapped his memo pad with the pen. This is unacceptable. We need the rest of these riddles, and we need them now. We're close, gentlemen, we're close. Winston, I saw you talking to that young man again. What did he say about their progress? He said they were almost done with this puzzle. Mr. Garvey looked like he'd bitten into a lemon. He tore pages out of his memo pad and handed them to the boys. Okay, we're separating again. Go back to the same area. Run and write down every riddle those people have to say. Don't worry about answering. Don't even think. Just write down the riddle. Come back with what each person has on their back, and write down what they have on their back. Write it all down and get back here. Fast. Do you hear me? Fast. He looked at them, trying to drill intensity into them with his stare. Winston, for one, got the message. Do you each have a pen? They all did. Then go! It took a while, and toward the end, Winston could feel Mr. Garvey's agitation like radio waves across the green. But the college kids in colored t-shirts kept walking around, and it was hard to keep track of which ones he had spoken to and which ones he had not. He went up to the same bland-faced, sandy-haired kid 3 times in the 10 minutes. Mr. Garvey was again the first back at the park bench where they were using its home base. When Winston returned, he was slumped, frowning deeply, and looked at the computer. Has West Meadows solved this? Mr. Garvey said. That's your friend, isn't it? Yeah, that's Brendan Root's team. They're almost done. All we need now is the 6th answer. Mr. Garvey looked up. He looked as if he had aged 10 years since this morning. And we're running out of time. We could have won the whole thing if it wasn't for the cheater. We caught up, but it wasn't enough. He shook his head, too tired to be angry. Mal and Jake got back within 30 seconds of each other. Did you get all your riddles? Mr. Garvey asked. And the pictures? I think so, Mal said. Let's see. They sat together on the bench and compared their notes. Winston could see that Jake was still sore about Mr. Garvey's sports comment. The teacher had practically called him a dumb jock, but he was willing to put aside his disgust for the sake of the team. He wondered if Mr. Garvey noticed. All right. So in your packets, the puzzle, it says, was on page 169. We have the pictures that were on the back of all of the t-shirts, and we have the riddles. So neatly write your answer to each riddle in order. You might want to number them and put them over here. Maybe you want to number the riddles too, so we make sure that they match up. I know that the copy machine wasn't working well, but I'm sure you have enough information. Make sure you do them all. Try them all. Do the ones you know first. Come back to the tricky ones before you go to the next video. Have fun.